The Peppermint Acacia skirt is quite a short mini A-line skirt, and I know that a lot of people would probably prefer that there was a little bit more length on the pattern. So I'm going to show you how I went about lengthening this particular version of it and maintained the curve on the bottom of the skirt as well. It's not going to be just as simple as adding paper to the bottom of it, but I'll show you exactly how I did it. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the grain line arrow down to the bottom of the pattern piece. So I've already done the back piece, I'm now doing the front piece, but I am extending that grain line arrow all the way to the bottom. That makes it a bit easier for me to see exactly what's going on when I add on an extra bit. The other thing that I'm going to do, because there isn't a shorten and lengthen line on this pattern piece, I'm going to add one of those in myself. And I'm going to do that perpendicular to that grain line arrow. I've already gone ahead and I've figured out a spot front and back. That is the point where I want that shorten and lengthen line to go. So I'm just lining my see-through ruler up with that so that I can draw that line that is at 90 degrees to the grain line arrow that I've just extended. Almost there. Okay, so drawing a line there, and that is just there. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to slash the pattern at that point. So I'm going to cut through that line that I've just drawn. Move the ruler out of the way for just a second. Okay, so I've now got these two pieces here. I'm adding 10 centimeters to the length of the pattern. So the way that I go about doing this, I've got a piece of paper that I'm going to attach to that top piece there. Just going to sticky tape that on a few spots. 1, 2, and 3. All right. Just going to cut a little bit of paper off at the side because I know I'm not going to need that, and that way it won't get in my way. All right. I'm back with my main piece now, so I've added that additional piece of paper onto it, and looking for my pencil. I'm now going to extend the grain line arrow from that original top piece all the way down through the pattern, and I'm also going to take the opportunity at this point to draw in that edge of the pattern piece as well. So this is a piece that is cut on the fold. So I know that this is going to be a straight line. So I'm just going to continue along that edge of the pattern onto my new piece of paper. I'm going to take that line all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so I've got my grain line arrow that I've extended here, and I've got the on the fold bit that I've also extended down here. I'll get my ruler now, and I'm going to measure a distance of 10 centimeters. Now this is a clear ruler. Some people call it a quilting ruler. I call it a sewing ruler. And I'm putting the 10 centimeter measurement, I'm putting it right on the cut line from the original pattern. And I'm going to draw a line in at 10 centimeters. That now gives me a line that I can connect the rest of my pattern to. Okay. Now one more thing I'm going to do before I go about adding on that bottom half piece of my pattern is I'm going to grab my ruler again, and what I want to do is I want to continue that A-line shape down the side of the pattern, because I want to make sure that as I add length, I'm also adding a little bit of width to the skirt as well. It's in keeping with the style of the pattern. If I was to just keep the bottom of the pattern at exactly the same length, it's going to take that A shape away from it. So by continuing the A shape down on the side of the pattern, I'm going to maintain that shape. But the reason why I'm not just drawing a straight line at the bottom is because this is a slight curve on the original piece. So the way that I'm going to go about dealing with that, this is my bottom half piece. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece alongside that grain line arrow that we extended before. Okay, so that piece that I've just cut here is now going to go here at the bottom below that 10 centimeter line that I drew. So I'm just going to stick that piece on. I've done a very good job of that. Let's try that again. It's a little bit better. Okay. So stick that on. And then what I'm going to do with that other half of the piece is that's now going to come across and go onto that new side seam here. So I'm just lining up with the different lines that I've drawn. A bit more sticky tape. Okay. Now, by using both of these pieces at the bottom, what I've been able to do is maintain the original intended curve at the hem of the skirt without having to try and draw it with freehand. I've maintained the integrity of the shape of the pattern, and all I really need to do is just fill in this little gap here. Once I'm done with that, I'll then cut around the edges here, and that's when I'll be getting my new shape. So because it's only a tiny little section that I'll need to fill in here, depending on what the shape of the skirt was, you know, I might consider using the curve for that, but I actually really don't need it. It's just going to be a straight line for that small section there. And then I'll just grab my scissors, cut along those lines. This is not my neatest cutting job, by the way, just to demonstrate how to do it. And I'll come around here and I'll cut these lines as well. I'm actually cutting underneath because I don't need all of that. Okay, and now we have our lengthened pattern piece, maintaining the original intended A-line shape. This bit down here takes account of the hem, and we've still got this nice curve exactly as originally intended.